Wood is usually a material that we associate with premium and expensive products. Well, Montech doesn't think it needs to be that way because its latest budget PC case comes with real wood accents. The new Montech XR Wood is a wallet-friendly ATX mid-tower available in black or white with support for ATX motherboards, huge graphics cards, and up to 360mm radiators. But premium wood accents aside, does this latest budget case from Montech live up to the company's usual high standards? Well, let's find out. So this is the new Montech XR Wood ATX mid-tower PC case. It is the company's latest budget PC case. It's available in either black or white colour schemes. The MSRP for this is around $70 for either black or white. You can pick this up in the UK right now from Scan, priced at just £50. Montech XR Wood features a blend of sleek and natural look on the front with real wood highlights and steel mesh. It supports the installation of up to 12 fans for maximum airflow and seamless integration with ATX motherboards, large graphics cards, and up to 360mm AIO radiators. It's also equipped with dust filters all round and comes with 4 pre-installed Montech 120mm GF120 ARGB PWM fans. So it's quite a regular style looking ATX case in the normal ATX form factor. Fans and intake at the front, motherboard, graphics card, everything in the middle, power supply at the bottom, and it's technically front, side, bottom intake with top and rear exhaust. Dimensions are reasonably compact at 461 by 230 by 456mm. Front panel connectivity includes a single USB Type-C port, 2 USB Type-A ports, 2 3.5mm audio jacks for headphones and mic, and power and reset buttons. As I say, it does come in those 2 different colour scheme options. It is a budget case, but it does come with 4 pre-installed 120mm ARGB PWM fans, 3 intakes at the front, and a single rear exhaust fan. It also comes with tool-free panel removal on the tempered glass side. There's a little tab at the back. You just push that and the panel releases. You can see it is a clear tempered glass on this white version. The right-hand side panel has a couple of thumb screws holding it in place. Just loosen off those thumb screws. Panel slides backwards and then it releases. It's a plain steel side panel, but it does have a vent down towards the front because you can install some side intake fans. The vent is covered with a dust filter. It's a magnetic perforated steel type dust filter. The perforations in that do look quite small, so that could prove to be quite restrictive. And then with the dust filter removed, there's some larger perforations there, so the fans may have a difficult time trying to breathe through these perforations and the filters if you've got the side fans as intakes. The panel's quite thin feeling. It's probably 0.5 or 0.8mm steel, but it does feel reasonably stiff. There's not too much flex in that. I've seen expensive or more expensive cases with less flex in that, so build quality of that panel feels okay. There are other dust filters installed to the case, so the top, for example, that has another removable magnetic perforated steel dust filter. Perforations on that, like the one on the side panel, are very small, so they might be restrictive too. But if you've got a AIO radiator installed in here and it's working as an exhaust, I'd suggest to just remove that filter anyway. There's also a dust filter for the front panel. So the front panel design has those wooden accents at the top and the bottom. At the top, it's got the Montech logo machined in there. It's also got quite an open mesh front, large perforations on that, so airflow without the dust filter installed should be pretty good. But the dust filter fits to the outside of the front panel. Not sure how well I've got that lined up so I can't see it, but that seems like a really odd choice to me, just to slap a magnetic perforated steel dust filter on the outside of the front panel. Kind of spoils the look for me of the front panel, and it's got the possibilities to slip around. It doesn't really fit into a recess or anything, so I'm not very impressed at all with that idea. It seems like quite a lazy bit of design, that, to just slap the magnetic dust filter on the outside. doesn't look great. And again, small perforations, large perforations, this is going to be more restrictive obviously than just having the front panel open as it is. That could have been done better. Maybe a nylon dust filter clipped on the inside would have been a lot better. It is a cheap budget case, but I do think that could have been designed a little better. The outer front panel can be removed, so pull it out from the bottom and then it just clips off. There is a combination of wood, steel and plastic in this front panel, and you can see the top bit just screws on, so the plastic bits are just screwed to this steel part. And I did try and fit the dust filter inside there and it doesn't fit at all, so it's definitely designed to be installed on the outside, the dust filter. Behind that front panel you can see there's 3 pre-installed fans. They are Montech GF120 ARGB and PWM fans, so they're standard 3-pin 5V ARGB connections and a standard 4-pin PWM motherboard header type connection. In terms of the cooling support, so obviously up front it can install either 3 120 or 2 140mm fans. Officially, Montech doesn't list any radiator compatibility in the front, but it does look like you might be able to fit up to a 360mm radiator in there, maybe a 280, a 240, 120 and 140. At the top, it does officially support radiators at the top of the case. In here you can install either 3 120mm fans, 2 140mm fans, or up to a 360mm radiator. So again, I'd assume 280, 240, 120 and 140 radiators should also be able to be installed at the top of the case. At the right hand side here, there's another 2 spaces for 120mm fans, but like the other panels, there's more perforations here. So if you do have fans as intakes installed on this right hand side panel, the air needs to come through the outer panel, dust filter, and then these perforations here. So that to me seems quite restrictive, like Montech's not really thought about airflow as much as it should have in this case. In terms of motherboard support, so it's up to ATX motherboards, no eATX support, but it does support ATX, micro ATX and mini ITX. What you will notice is there isn't any cutouts for back connect motherboards, so no reverse connector motherboards like MSI Project Zero or Asus BTF. They're not supported in here. You've got a couple of rubber grommets for the main cable cutouts here. So the 24 pin will be passed through there, the rubber grommets. There's a couple more cutouts up at the top here for passing through your EPS and fan headers. And on top of the power supply shroud, there's plenty of cutouts here for the connections to the bottom of the motherboard. And there's also a cutout at the front for power to the graphics card potentially. You also notice on top of that power supply shroud, that's open and vented, it's large perforation mesh. On here you can install up to 3 120mm fans. Maximum graphics card size is up to 420mm long. There's 7 PCIe slots, so thick graphics cards will fit in here. Maximum CPU cooler height, so CPU tower coolers, that's up to 175mm tall. At the back of the case, it's a pretty regular and conventional style ATX layout. 120 or 140mm fan mount. You can install 120 or 140mm fans. It comes with a 120 pre-installed. It's the same ARGB PWM fan as the front fans. Rear cutout for the motherboard I/O. 7 PCIe slots. There's no vertical slots and you can't switch this round. You can't rotate the PCIe slots to make vertical mounting possible. And then at the bottom, it's a mount for a regular ATX power supply. Around this right hand side, something that jumps out at me straight away in this white case is these black cables for the front I/O. Again, this seems like a bit of lazy design from Montech. Even some of the cheapest budget white cases nowadays come with white cables. Not a deal breaker as such, but it would look better if those cables were white with white connectors. Because the fan cables, they're white, it'd be better if they're just all matched. There is some cable management features built into the case. So you've got a few Velcro straps pre-installed and the main cable management routing will be down this central channel here. There's a couple more eyelets up at the top and some down at the bottom for zip tying or Velcro strapping cables down to. You also, around this side, have a 2.5-inch drive mount there, and there's also a caddy on the floor here. So on here you can install either another 2.5 inch drive or a 3.5, and you can install a 2.5 in here too. This drive can be moved, so even though I say earlier there isn't any official support for front radiators, this drive can be moved slightly backwards, so potentially to allow more space for a radiator fitting. At the bottom is a quite large power supply shroud. In here you can install ATX power supplies up to 230 millimeters long. And then at the front here are the 220 millimeter fan mounts. Again, perforations here and on the outer panels, and the dust filter means that you might not get the best airflow in through those. There's not loads to see on the floor of the case, but there are 4 plastic feet, one on each corner of the case, so it does give the case some good stability. It doesn't feel too wobbly or like it's going to fall over too easily or be knocked over too easily. On the feet there are anti-vibration rubber pads. The feet are about 20 to 25 millimeters tall, so it gives some good ground clearance for airflow into the power supply fan. There are the screws for removing to adjust the position of the storage drive bay. At the back here there's another perforated steel magnetic dust filter, then a large opening for the power supply fan. Accessories included with the case, you don't get a lot, but I wouldn't expect much from a £50 case. You get all the installation screws sorted into individual bags, a motherboard speaker and some additional standoffs with a tool for tightening them up, some kind of anti-static cleaning cloth, I guess, for cleaning the tempered glass if you get fingerprints on it. A couple of additional side panel clips, so these up at the top here for the glass, just in case they break for any reason. You also get a couple of Velcro straps, which I've actually used in the build to neaten up the PCIe cables, and then you get a bunch of zip ties for cable management, and it's just about the right amount for a basic system. You can see the test system's built. It was overall quite an easy build. I'll come back to that in a moment, but first let's look at the thermal performance. For the test system I'm using an AMD Ryzen 7 9800X3D CPU, an MSI Mag X870 Tomahawk Wi-Fi motherboard. Graphics card is the Sapphire Radeon RX 7900 XTX Nitro Plus. For memory it's 64GB of G.Skill Trident Z5 RGB DDR5 6400. Storage is just a 1TB Corsair MP600 Elite PCIe Gen 4 x 4 NVMe M.2 SSD. The CPU cooler is the Montech Hyperflow Silent 360. Power supply is a Montech Titan Gold 1000 watt. Chassis is the Montech XR Wood with the stock fans installed. If you want to check out the full testing methodology, there's a written review page over at kitguru.net. All the testing methodology is on there. For the thermal load, it's a combined Cinebench R23 and 3D Mark Speedway stress test run simultaneously for 30 minutes. We tested the case thermals with a 360mm AIO CPU cooler installed in the roof and with the case in several different configurations. The default configuration shown in the charts is with a 360mm roof-mounted AIO, the stock case fans installed, and all case panels and dust filters fitted. In its default configuration, the Montech XR Wood keeps the average CPU temperature at 60 degrees C over ambient, while the GPU sits happily under load at 40 degrees C over ambient. However, removing all the dust filters has a significant effect on CPU temperature, reducing it by 4 degrees C. GPU temperature drops by a couple of degrees when removing dust filters, but adding 220mm intake fans to the power supply shroud has the same effect, so the stock dust filters are causing some airflow restriction. Removing the glass panel effectively makes the case an open frame, which drops GPU temperature by a further 2 degrees C, but adding side intake fans has little effect on either the CPU or GPU temperature, so it may not be worthwhile spending the extra cash on side fans. In terms of noise output, the case will run the system cool enough to keep noise low under load with a custom fan curve set. However, with the dust filters installed, noise increases as the temperature of both the CPU and GPU rise, and so does the fan speed. But creating a custom fan curve can keep the system cool while keeping noise output at an acceptable level around 40 decibels.
If you're looking for a new chair, then definitely go and check out boolies.co.uk. They offer a whole host of gaming and office chairs that come in a variety of different finishes and different colours.
So as far as £50 cases go, you can't really argue with the thermal performance. You're getting 4 fans included for that price too, which is really good value for money. The noise level of the fans, if you set your own fan curve, they're not going to be too distracting, especially if it's a gaming system, you're wearing headphones or something like that. But if you set the fan curve, it shouldn't be too distracting for maybe somebody else that's in the room at the same time. In terms of the build, 1 or 2 things to mention. There's not a lot of space up at the top here, so if you install an AIO radiator and then you need to connect up some cables, you might find that difficult. This top panel isn't removable, so you can't lift that out of the way to help connecting like the EPS power cables or the top fan headers. Make sure you install or connect those up before installing the radiator. There's no GPU anti-sag bracket built into the case. I know it's a cheap case at only £50, but I think that could have been quite easily implemented into the design and it wouldn't have cost too much either. It wouldn't have added much to the case, and you can see with this graphics card it could have done with some anti-sag bracket in there. A lot of cases, even the budget ones now, include that. Would have been nice to see. Maybe Montech could make that as an optional extra or something. It'd be quite easy to do with the side fan bracket there, and could maybe utilize the fan mounting screws somehow to create a GPU anti-sag bracket. The only other issue I have with the case is the dust filters, particularly the front dust filter. The way it attaches to the front of the case, it doesn't sit in any recess or anything like that. It looks a bit odd being slapped on the front of the case like that. It also restricts airflow because dust filter, then another perforated panel. It's causing quite a big restriction for airflow. And if the front fans are running at reasonably high speed, so above 1000 RPM, putting the dust filter on actually increases the noise. I think it's the disturbance in the airflow that creates that additional noise from the front fan. So I don't really like that front dust filter setup at all. If I was going to buy this case myself, I probably would just run it without the dust filter and accept the fact that maybe we'll have to clean the inside of the case more often. There's no back connect motherboard support, no GPU anti-sag bracket, which I would have liked to have seen. There's also no official support for radiators up front, but you can get a 360 in there. Not sure why Montech hasn't officially added that support. And the white case with black cables, I don't really like the look of that either, but this is a 50 quid case. You can't get much at all in the UK for that kind of money nowadays. So in terms of value, it's exceptionally good. Build quality seems pretty good. You've got some tool-free panels, the tempered glass side panel. It's a really good value case. It's available in those two different colors, so you can get it in black or white. Decent hardware support, so up to 360mm radiators, ATX motherboards, large graphics cards and large ATX power supplies will fit in here. And it's easy to build with. You can see this basic gaming system, it fits in here very well. It was really easy to put together. There's no issues with alignment of things like motherboard standoffs, rear PCIe slot cutouts and things like that. You get reasonable cable management. There's just enough space in the right hand side for the 24 pin and a few other cables for a basic gaming system. You get the Velcro straps, zip ties included, plenty of points to tie cables down to. So for 50 quid in the UK, it's good value. It can be improved, but you're not going to get much better for your money. So that's the Montech XR Wood. Let me know what you think of this case in the YouTube comment section. If you've enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to Kit Guru if you've not already done so. If you enjoy what we do here at Kit Guru and you want to help support us, you could always head over to the store, pick up some merch, or you could even subscribe to our Patreon. And as always, if you want to catch up on all the in-depth technical reviews, head over to our website.